Got that, and that. Okay, I remembered everything this time. Can't forget to leave a present for my fans. Hello mandooblers and welcome to Minecraft, but with RuneScape levels of grinding. And by grinding I actually mean the grinding of your soul into dust as you hold A and then D while keeping the spacebar down to get enough funny items to make the funny block people happy. But just like all the other Grindfest games, there are the good parts to give you that sweet dopamine from seeing big numbers become even bigger. But before that you have to go through the which is where you will end up if you do not heed my warning and start playing this game, at which point you will be spawned on an island with only the typical Skyblock essentials. And a portal that takes you to the actual game where you can easily obtain everything a vanilla player would want. I should be careful here because it's a dangerous zone. Please, I'm fully decked out. Oh wow, that's a lot of spiders. Wait, they have how much HP? Holy shit, I got... And then you realize that not only is this barely real Skyblock adjacent, it's also just not Minecraft. It's more a new game built inside of Minecraft. Let's see, this extremely indie project has 20,000 players pretty consistently. Considering that this is made in Minecraft on one server and doesn't really have advertising except for YouTubers, it's a really incredible success. Now let's compare it to the latest entry in a franchise I love, Payday, which is made by a professional studio of developers and has the backing of a big publisher like Deep Silver. 382 as a 24-hour peak! This is only on Steam, but I seriously doubt that if Steam is this low, the other platforms are doing better. Damn. If only I had time to shit on this game properly. Anyway, back to a not dead game. The point of saying all this is to say to the people who are interested but put off by the fact that it's in Minecraft, that this game is not like normal Minecraft at all. Let's start from the top and assume that you don't use this game as your drug. First of all, hunger, hearts, out of here, completely useless. You never need to eat and your health is represented by a number. The next number you will likely see is this blue one. This is mana. Yes! Good job, corporeal representation of the viewer. From now on, just assume that maxing any stat is a several 100-hour process, or even thousands. Anyway, I didn't tell you what mana is used for. I mean, do I really need to? Yeah, it's for casting spells and shit. Next one, defense. Again, pretty intuitive. It's defense. If it's high, you take less damage. Duh. Fully tanking out and making an unkillable being is possible, but not very good. Alright, now that you have figured out what's going on with the HUD, it's time to make a bridge over to the portal and say goodbye to the idea that you would ever need to care about resources. On your way, you will meet well-known war criminal serial killer Jerry, whose crimes against God have landed him a spot on your island to be the bearer of news about updates and be tortured for all eternity. And then you can jump into the portal and end up at the hub, where 90% of the time, if you're here, you're on a low of dopamine from the game and just running around. Now, there are really only a few important buildings here. Half of them you can skip going to with one silly cookie. One of the ones you should care about is the bazaar, which is like Wall Street, but where all the fun that usually only the big boys can do under the table is legal. Insider trading, accountant fraud, market manipulation, all of them are possible if you have enough money. Unfortunately, bribing YouTubers to know what their next epic money-making method is so you can prepare some investments is quite costly. Now, right next to the stock market, you have the auction house, where you can skip grinding 50 hours for something if you got lucky or are good enough to have a lot of money. Oh, right, unless you have literally no life and hate yourself enough to play Iron Man, where you can't buy anything from either of those places, so you have to get everything yourself, especially the luck-based ones. Anyway, let's talk about the other two buildings that actually matter. The bank, where you can put your money saying, alright, I should probably start saving up so I can... Oh, shiny! Oh, I'm poor again. And then there's the community center, where you will vote for a mayor. And by vote, I mean, join the hive mind and vote for the most popular one, because that has never gone wrong. Then there is Elizabeth, who will let you steal your parents' credit card to afford bigger numbers. Now that you're here, you may be asking yourself, what do I do? Thankfully, Hypixel gives you a great intro quest that explains the bare minimum and then drops you into a desert and tells you, good luck, bucko! So let me drop in and get my views for it too. Alright, so now other than the hub that I have explained, the other islands are more focused on a particular skill, like farming islands for grass touching in your dreams while you fell asleep farming, the dwarven mines and crystal hollows for competitive glass or green rock staring contests, also known as mining. Then there are several islands you can reach from the Spider's Den, the Crimson Isle and the End, that are all focused on competitive number increasing, aka combat. The Crimson Isle is one of the main late game areas where the mobs are the toughest and where a lot of stuff is daily to keep you addicted. Then there is the End Island, which is one of the places where you will do the most amount of murdering, both for money and for the Slayer. It's also where you can summon the Ender Dragon and lose all of the money you invested into it. Slayers are bosses that you can spawn by getting enough combat XP from the mob they represent, and they reward some cool ass shit. Unless you're a spider, then you are a lame ass bitch. Then we have arguably the most endgame island of all of them, the dungeons, where you get given a reason why the numbers are so insanely high, with extremely strong enemies and bosses with mechanics. And also where a lot of the best items in the game are acquired. But if you have no friends like me, you will have to deal with random parties where you could find very competent people who you will share a good time with, or delusional egomaniacs who make the experience as painful as humanly possible. And yes, the second is more common than the first. Then there are seals that don't have... I wish I could forget about it. But fine, I will talk about it. The Foraging Islands are perhaps the worst place in the whole of Skyblock. If it were to be hit by a nuclear bomb, I surely would not miss it. It's the home of all that I hate. The objectively most boring and pointless grind of the game, who even players who have reached insanely high levels through ungodly amounts of grinding will say, nah thanks to. Then we have the harp. What a funny and silly minigame, ha ha ha, if you're American. Because the harp is one of the few extremely ping dependent minigames, and I'm a pizza man. I live inside the walls of the Sistine Chapel so I can assassinate, where my ping is relatively good, but not good enough for those to be played as intended and enjoyed. And now to perhaps my most controversial take, the pond, the final in the unholy trinity of the park. At the pond you can fish. It actually happens to be one of the better early game fishing spots. But fishing sucks mega turbo ass and is boring as fuck, and I refuse to grind it more than I need. Now fishing defenders will say, but it's one of the best money making methods and it's just your gear, it gets bit. Shut up, straw man of the people who like fishing. I will not sit through 5 hours of a boring ass grind to get the ability to do the boring ass grind slightly faster and make a little bit more money. I would honestly rather level foraging. Let's get back to it. There are skills that don't have a dedicated island. Fishing, as already mentioned, is made by Satan to torture me and my attention span, and doesn't have a dedicated island. Then we have alchemy and enchanting. Both need to be leveled on your island. One of them makes you do a silly minigame that would be annoying if we didn't have solvers for them. And the other requires you to spend a bunch of money and waste a bunch of time just setting up brewing stands. But it doesn't lock anything off, so you can really just do it when you want the stats. And that's all the skills in the game. Now, if I explained everything you can do in the game, we would be here for hours. And frankly, a lot of it isn't even particularly interesting. Like, I love mining, it's just engaging enough that my attention span can take it with a video being played in the background. But there's like not a lot to say. There's a lot of content for it, so mining is one of the better skills to level because it's not too boring, and most of it you will do while working for the king. Honestly, the best upgrade you can ever get in Skyblock is a second monitor, so you can watch something more interesting while you slave away for +1 strength. I'm also not gonna tell you how to make money in the game. That horse has been beaten to dust at this point. Just know that unless you hate yourself, you can usually buy your way into the more fun parts of things. Like how if you have the money, you can just buy your way into dungeons. You will have to grind the levels yourself either way, but once you are at a high enough level to do a floor, you can just buy the best weapons and have a good time and make more money. Yeah, that's right. Just like real life, the rich only get richer. Lastly, the community. A surprising amount of them aren't children, but an unsurprising amount of them are men children. It's not all bad though. This isn't a YouTuber SMP, there are stable human beings who want to play this game, and you can have a chat with them relatively normally. And that's really about— oh, gotta go, they found me. Apparently, owing so much money that they need a new word for it is a crime. So, smell ya later! Oh, I have to mention by law that I'm not that good at the game, but if you are mad about that, you really need to shower. This one gets a McDonald's job making method out of 10. Now like and subscribe, otherwise I will scramble all the icons on your desktop every 2 months.